Hey everyone, this is Tony, Dungeon Master for D&D Raw, and before we begin our final episode of our Orinthal podcast, we just wanted to make one exciting announcement. Our very own Rachael, who plays Kalima on the show, has her own podcast out there called Epic Endings. It is a fantastic actual play podcast that you absolutely have to check out yourself. The premise is essentially level 20 characters individually going from challenge to challenge until they get their own epic ending. Well, without going too much more into it, here's the promo for Rachael's Epic Endings.
Epic Endings Podcast, where heroes come to perish. Hey, I'm Rachael, the DM of Epic Endings Podcast. It is a 5th edition actual play podcast with a bit of a twist. While most parties are comprised of 3 or more players at an appropriate level going on adventures, this series of adventures is taken on by solo players at 20th level. I have 4 individual players, each playing one character and each playing alone. Each player is presented the same adventures, beginning with a level 1 adventure to see how they approach the problems and navigate different situations without the aid of a full party. Who will go the furthest? Will it be the dashing Cassius Day, the Divine Bard? What about our cautious and careful Thea Nightbreeze, Circle of the Moon Druid? Perhaps the rickety but feisty old Sai Amakir, a Blade Song Wizard? Or will it be our timid and endearing Keldwyn Kinsbaron, the Life Domain Cleric? Find out on Epic Endings Podcast, where heroes come to perish. You can find us on all of your favorite podcasting services, Facebook and Twitter at Epic Endings Pod. Also, check out the blog over at thefemalepally.wordpress.com for show notes, anecdotes, and other write-ups on gaming.
Now, before we begin the show, I had one final announcement I want to make. While Orinthal is coming to an end, we do want to announce that we are having a Season 2 of our actual play podcast. Name pending right now. We're really excited to bring this to you guys, as it is the full-fledged campaign that I have been working on for the past few years. It is ready, or rather nearly ready to go. We're getting all the players set, getting all new characters ready, and we hope to have some exciting new adventures for you. The whole campaign takes place 150 years after the events of Orinthal. A lot of time has passed, and between now and when our first episode of Season 2 actually airs, I'll be releasing some History of Ostia type episodes that will cover what's changed in the 150 years since the Cataclysm. We really look forward to this. We are so excited to be bringing you more of our world, more new and interesting characters, and our players are really excited to jump back into things for a full-fledged campaign. All players will be starting at level 3 for this, and I'm so excited to bring these to you guys. But without further ado, here is our epilogue for Orinthal. As always, with me are the following players.
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm going to be playing Syldan. He is a wood elf, Way of the Kensei monk.
Hi, this is Bethany. I'm playing Sarya, an Asamar Order of the Immortal Mystic.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm going to be playing Darryl, a human evocation wizard.
Hello, I'm Nick. I'm going to be playing Torr, a dwarven inquisitive rogue.
I'm Rachael, and I'm playing Kalima, the half-elf Domain of the Grave Cleric.
And we would all like to welcome you to Orinthal. Before we begin, I'm just going to go over, all the characters will individually go over what their short-term goals are. So for the next few days or so. Then they'll jump into what they plan to do for their long-term goals for their characters. The stuff that their characters will take the next weeks, months, and years, and even the rest of their lives to attempt to accomplish. Now, before we begin that, one of the things I wanted to mention is Captain Marsk, at first, during the short term of everybody, is under house arrest. Any of them can visit her at any point, and eventually she will be released, however, stripped of all of her titles and authority within the Vremer Empire. But she will be thankful for the party and everything that they have done for her. I am jumping a little ahead of myself, however, and so we will jump right into this. First, Sarya.
I am going to go to Alethra's family, because I know she had a family she was supporting.
Yes.
And give them some money, maybe like 20 gold of what I have,
Okay.
and my sympathies.
It's a very sad moment when you arrive,
Yeah.
of course. A few kids, and she did have a brother, a younger brother, who seems to be kind of trying to take care of them in light of everything that happened. He graciously accepts your gold, and when you initially go, he offers you, I just assume it'd be during the day, but he would offer you a meal or something while you're there, just in thanks, because he does know you helped Alethra out.
I tried. So I'll give them that gold. And I have a question. Do I have any sense for, I know they're rebuilding the Angela Pipes. Do I know who's in charge of that? Leading that effort?
Yes, you would know that in terms of the rebuilding effort, overall, the person ultimately in charge is head judicator Amastasia.
Oh, okay. I will go and give her the rest of my money
Okay.
and say that I want it to be used for rebuilding. And I trust she'll, use it wisely, and I don't really need it.
Roll persuasion.
Okay. 16.
Okay.
It's like 50 gold, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not like...
She...
Jeez.
Still a lot of money.
Yeah, sorry I didn't really spend a lot of the money that I gave you guys early on. Yeah, she thanks you for the donation to the reconstruction efforts and promises that she will put it to good use.
Yeah, I'll ask her not to tell anyone.
She agrees to your request.
Okay. So otherwise, I'm just going to spend my time helping Darryl with the research.
Mhm.
And is Captain Marsk still being held, or does she get cleared in the next couple of days?
During the next couple of days, they're doing an investigation on her, so you can go and visit her at her the Royal Barracks if you wish.
Yeah, I'll go and mostly just to listen.
Okay.
Just so she can vent, I guess, about the horrible, horrible things that happened to her. Lots of nodding. Just go and say hey, do you want to talk? I'm here to listen. That sort of thing. I'm trying to earn her trust.
The first day, she seems uncertain kind of about what you want, really.
Mhm.
She's wondering if, basically, that you get the impression she wonders if there's another angle to this. But after some time, she starts to first ask you questions. Ask you, what was it like for you?
Yeah, I'll be pretty transparent at this point. I mean, the story's already out there, so I'll just tell her what happened and how I'm trying to use it for good now.
So after you kind of explain how things were like for you, she goes into a similar story. Fulmar trained her and in her mind took care of her in the only way that she ever knew. Captain Marsk never saw this as...
What's her first name? Is Marsk her first name? Her only name? Or does she have a first name?
It's Kethra.
Kethra. Okay, Kethra. I will call her by her first name.
Yeah, so Kethra Marsk mentions that she was trained by Fulmar, and as far as she knew, this was how people were raised. She never understood any differently, and there was always a constant pressure on her mind. Growing up, she always had this headache, and only with the realization that what Ralayan was, did she realize that he was using his power to maintain a hold on her, to twist her thoughts. This is mostly what you kind of pick up during the conversation. You realize in many, many ways she is mentally very broken because she has been so beat down.
I'll tell her that maybe after she gets out, maybe I can help her and teach her some ways to protect herself mentally.
She kind of nods and thanks. She asks you if Fulmar was your only teacher as well.
Yeah.
She then brings up that there was someone else, she never learned the name, who, after she was old enough, Fulmar said that her training would be expanded and taught her how to fight like a monk. But she's fairly certain now, considering what this group was like, that person is dead or was controlled. But she kind of gestures to you at one point and just says that the journal you have should tell you more.
Okay. When I'm on my own by myself, I'll take some time to really read through the journal.
I'm going to hold that one then for the longer term thing.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Because there's a lot of information there.
Okay. Yeah, so my long-term goals, I want to rehabilitate Captain Marsk. She's a little broken. I want to help her out. I want to find out if any of the other experiments at the Conclave survived. So it seems like going there and checking the place out, see if anyone's there, is a good place to start. And in general, I'm just trying to find others with psionic powers so that I can determine whether they're threats or if they could be recruited to help fight the Whispered Ones, because I want to take them out and just protect innocent people from other similar threats.
Okay.
Nothing big.
Nothing big.
I just want to be a superhero, that's all.
Yeah. Basically.
So that was funny because we talked about that a little while back, where I mentioned, you realize Sarya is going to, turn out to be a superhero, right? That's what she's building towards.
That's kind of, she's got a tragic past, et cetera, dead parents, all the things she needs. Superpowers.
I am Batman.
Yeah.
Super Sarya.
At least I'm not as, gruff as Batman. It wouldn't really work for this character. So basically, the long journey would start with the first step of getting Kethra Marsh to go with me to investigate the Conclave and see what we could find out about what happened to the others.
All right. At this point, also, all of you who would want to keep in touch with each other and with Thovin would have sending stones.
Oh, I'll keep in touch, all right.
Whether we want you to or not.
Exactly.
I won't ping Kalima daily, because then I know if she happened to if I was wrongly accused of a crime again and she had the opportunity to murder me, she probably would. So
I'll probably ping Kalima weekly.
I'll just check in every so often on how her duty is going.
All the duty.
Be respectful. Be respectful of your time.
All right. So it is a few days' travel to get to the Conclave. During all this time, you mentioned also that you were going through the journal. And
yes.
Overall for that, you did discover a lot. The journal seems to start not long after Rachael came to the material plane. He describes this place as essentially ripe for the picking, as the minds here are weak and very malleable. There are references to Xenath. As Rachael grew older and older, there's indication that he decided to make a deal with this shadow dragon for the secrets to immortality. In exchange, Rachael would teach this Xenath how to open portals to other planes.
Oh, what a great synergy.
The great and powerful Xenath could then essentially stretch his minions and his empire across the entire multiverse, was the dragon's hope. Through this, there's some indication that you get that they started this group to praise the Whispered One, that they would refer to themselves as the Whispered Ones. They would keep quiet. There's little hints that the concept of the Whispered Ones was the idea of the being able to speak telepathically. And you eventually do get more recent information as well. One indicating that he did capture a monk from this monastery nearby, and the master of the monastery took notice and would have to be dealt with, which you assume would be Darryl. Eventually you do get to a portion of the journal that describes 42 different experiments with 42 different subjects. each the experiment slightly different, but all was harvested from a particular celestial.
Oh.
So this one celestial was
Oh.
essentially captured and restrained, and they utilized its essence because they hoped to create perfect physical beings that they could use and control. Of these experiments, the indication is 41 were failures. You do find yours eventually, and under yours, there are subtle indications that he utilized his own psychic abilities to kind of try and poke and prod you. And then much, much later, there are very, very recent notations of Melika, of Zelix, discussing your strange abilities with Ralayan. And Ralayan wondering if this experiment caused those abilities to manifest.
Wow. What a great source for my powers.
Throughout these experiments, you do see an odd, a couple of experiments towards the end, it mentions and it was disposed of. But about 4 where the phrasing is different, where there's an implication that the experiment might not have been killed, but might have actually escaped.
Well, it says the subject is no longer with us.
Where it mentions, and it was dealt with rather than it was terminated. Whereas of the total of 42, only one was mentioned as success. You were specifically written off as having escaped, but 4 seem more unclear. So you do get the impression that there might be more people who were part of this experiment.
Who survived Order 66.
Yep.
I gotta go find him. Yeah, cool.
Throughout it, you also do get indication of a couple of other conclaves.
Oh.
One deep underneath the ground near Solana, another near the Thessan Kingdom, within the cragged peaks to the north. You also get an indication that the celestial that they used was not killed and had escaped as well.
Do I get a sense of whether this is a male or female personage?
You get the sense that it was more feminine in appearance.
Okay. So I know we can't chase all this down, wrap up my whole story, I find out everything, it's all great. But I guess basically, Sarya would try to follow up on all these leads, still making trips back to Orinthal to, visit the library, meet with Thovin and Darryl, maybe visit Syldan sometimes. Try not to bother Kalima and Torr too much. Trying to be restrained about it. And overall, I guess she would just keep trying to increase her powers and help Captain Marsk, sort of get back to some sort of, healthy mental state and teach her how to, protect herself from mental intrusions and just, figure things out as she goes.
Okay.
I guess that would be the plan.
So, for much of your journey, you travel across the realm, and Kethra Marsk does join you for much of this. And Thovin does on occasion as well, particularly when you go after particular conclaves that you know of.
Oh, and I would send the journal to Darryl at the library.
Once you were done?
After I've read it, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
More
Good stuff
books.
in there. Juicy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And over the course of the next few years, Thovin mentions that he wants to train others to protect them against these threats, starting his own academy of sorts, away from everything else. But he does join you and help you pretty much any point that he is free to do so. Many of these different quests you go on, Kethra Marsk joins you as well. But sometimes when you do return to Orinthal, she does take some time to go to the monastery.
Mm-hmm. Hey.
Is she still single?
Yeah.
Over the years that follow, Sarya spent much of her time hunting down the group that made her who she is. And being such a wide and far-reaching group, and very secretive, while you find several of their conclaves, find several of their bases, and are able to take out some that you find along the way, she will be searching to make sure that they are all gone. So what winds up happening with that will have to remain a little unclear.
Yeah. Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome. All right. Torr.
On the topic of Captain Marsk, I don't think Torr was, really that close to her, but it probably would make sense that he'd go to visit her once, just to thank her for giving him opportunities when really there weren't many out there for him, and to wish her well.
Okay. Overall, she's pretty quiet during your meeting, but she does kind of say, like, well, I was happy I could help someone.
Aww.
Aww. During the majority of this time, while waiting for that fateful meeting he set up to happen, he'd be in his room in the tavern, transcribing that additional copy of the research to send back to the Thessan Kingdom, and in fact would ask Ild if maybe she could take it back with her.
Yeah, she tells you, like, yeah, no problem.
And he would also write a letter to the Thessan elders, particularly to Garam Meltwall, just kind of, citing the honors received recently, and of course also the circumstances that originally caused him to go insane, more or less, in that council chamber those years back. Definitely kind of rubbing it in a bit, including any samples provided, and mentioning, of course, that this is a copy of the research, not the original, which has been donated to Orinthal, kind of a side dig, and deciding not to request reinstatement into the Meltwall clan, but to remain simply as Torr.
Okay. So,
Yes.
Torr, long-term goals.
Okay. First order of business, probably someone gets in touch with him.
Yes, within less than a 10-day, you do get a meeting with Gerbo and Thovin. Vral does not attend.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Vral will probably find out if he needs to know.
I assume you eventually indicate what it is you want, and Thovin does cast and dispels the magic around you. It lasts for some time, so you have an idea of how long it'll last, but you're not 100% sure.
So, going back to the deals made with Biogosto.
So what is it you asked them?
He's going to accept her offer, and he's going to try to take her down from inside her network, so to speak, and anything they can do to help that along, he would appreciate. He does mention, tell anyone else about this that you feel should know, including if you, whenever you think they're ready, my companions from this adventure.
So, Gerbo will indicate that as Spy Master of Orinthal, he will happily help in defending Orinthal in any way, shape, or form and the Vremer Empire, but going on the offensive against someone like Bai, even infiltrating, could cause more damage than potentially help, in his opinion.
Torr would stress that she is a very dangerous wild card who, at a moment's notice, could work against Orinthal, and that she'd be a worthy threat to neutralize. But he would respect, Gerbo's wishes if he chose not to help.
Gerbo will say, if you do intend to infiltrate, if you ever get the chance to report to him, he would appreciate that, as any threat to the Empire would like to be known. However, he himself won't be able to do much, as she is supposedly a very, very, very old extraplanar entity, and that doesn't tend to be his area of expertise.
Torr does promise to report in whenever possible, so without blowing the cover.
Thovin, meanwhile, would explain he does not feel threatened by Bai.
Ooh, snap!
Ooh.
Be a bit taken aback, Torr would. Come again?
He explains that Bai focuses on the individual and gives them a choice that they could decline. Thovin, however, continues on to say that he will be focused on the Whispered Ones, who clearly intend to do great harm to others. That's where his priorities lie. He'll tell you, if you do find out anything, or any threats, they'd be happy to help. But as she is as conniving as she seems to be, any indication on their part that they are going to try and stop her could just cause her to disappear.
Very well.
And anything else on that meeting?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay. Shortly after that meeting, the rest of you would get a message from Gerbo saying Torr does intend to go after Bai.
So we actually don't know much about Bai, our characters, right? I'm trying to make sure I'm not taking advantage of what I know.
You know very little.
Do we know that she's evil?
You know that she is part
Do
fiend.
we know that she worked with the Whispered Ones in any way?
Torr told you that, and then they broke off a deal with her.
So she has no reason to be working with the Whispered Ones anymore?
No.
I will tell him, I think it seems like a bad idea. There are other things you can spend your life on, because this seems like a suicide mission.
It's also research into threats that could affect our world soon.
Well, I guess it is your choice.
Okay. Anyone else that would comment on it, or
Syldan, we kind of I mean, if you're going into this deal just for research purposes, then maybe it's something worth pursuing. But if you're going in it to take down Agosto, if she poses no threat currently to us, there's no reason to, and that's my opinion at least.
Darryl would be more or less of the same opinion. If it's just for research, he would be interested. But if it's to try and take her out, he thinks that it might be a bit beyond his abilities. It could be a bit of a suicide mission.
Kalima is going to go with the, you were told to come back alone?
Yep.
Not messing with that. Also, she doesn't, besides what you guys told us, she's like, she's not undead. I focus on undead. That's...
Yeah.
Yeah, fiends, I don't like them.
Yeah,
but
I'm not friends with them.
Yeah. But I am...
fiends are bad.
Yeah.
To each of them, he would promise to keep their counsel in mind, to try and not let just his personal feelings completely override what's good for the world. But that he wasn't sure if he could ever truly forgive her.
Okay. Anything else over the next few days before the meeting? If you don't have anything, we can jump to the meeting.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay. So, you were told to return to the spot you first saw her. And as you arrive at the house, you open the door and step inside. And when you do, the decrepit, somewhat well-kept home, slightly burnt with a shriveled-up rug in the Ancaleb Heights, suddenly changes as the door closes behind you to a much warmer, well-lit room, fireplace roaring, and the familiar scene of Agosto sitting across from you, a coffee table between you and her, and 2 cups on the table. As you approach, Bai smiles and says, "Good. I am glad you accomplished all the parts of our deal. Seeing you die was rather interesting, Torr. Your spirit was brought back rather quickly, though. Now, you came to continue our conversation, and I promise to show you creatures the likes of which the world has yet to see. I want you to be very aware of something, Torr. I choose my words very carefully. At least I try to. Do you recall what I specifically said on this part of our deal? I said if you return to the spot where you first saw me, I would return you here, where we could talk more about how we could work together. So be aware of something very important, little Torr. What did I not promise to do in this deal?" At this, she kind of puts her teacup down and crosses her hands on her lap and stares right at you.
Must be something important.
Yes, Torr. I never promised to send you back. So, the conversation with Bai would continue. I assume Torr would work with her for some time, as she would show him creatures from other planes of existence, and what comes of that relationship will remain to be seen.
All right.
Kalima, over the next couple of days, what would you like to be doing?
With Antinua working to make sure that the ceremony remains safe, and then probably, if there's extra time, to start working in the lower districts to either help clean them up, or maybe even establish a temple or shrine of some sort to Kelmvor. Kind of get that maybe in the works.
Okay. So, you do discover in the Gold Petal Gardens district that there is a very very small. It's as if someone just kind of like started putting it together, but a small shrine to Kelimvor. And a few people there are worshiping. It seems like it's people who have lost loved ones recently. But you can take some time and work with a couple of people who are there and try and start to build that up a little bit. During your time in the low hills, trying to clean things up, making sure that essentially law is kept even in this rougher part of the city. Occasionally you catch glimpses of who could only be Vral, keeping an eye on what you're doing in the comings and going. But he keeps mostly to the shadows. It seems he does not have a particular interest of approaching you now. You don't get any sense that he's doing anything mischievous, but
he's just being generally shady.
You get more of the impression that he's watching, like it's a sense of someone watching over their territory. Is kind of how he sees it.
Really pretty much. This is my city.
The Dark Knight Vral.
How often do I catch him? Like over the course of like 3-4 days, like
over the course of 3-4 days, you see him twice.
Just enough to be obnoxious.
Yes.
I would definitely make sure that I give him a dirty look, at least one of the times.
You would see just a smirk as he sinks back into the shadows.
I hate him so much. He's so shady.
Oh yeah.
I am the knight.
Butts. Shifty has butts.
Shifty as butts.
There's a sentiment.
Yes. That's about it.
So you also are able to take some time, and the eventual ceremony to honor Thovin and all of you for your recent events.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't go unless I
For
had
any
to.
who want to come to it, does happen.
Is it like end of Star Wars A New Hope sort of thing? Like,
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
stand up the front, get a medal, Chewbacca doesn't get one, that sort of thing?
Get medals.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kalima doesn't want one. She would just take it and
So
melt
does
it
that
down
mean
and
Kalima doesn't
use
get
it
one?
for the temple.
Yeah, she'd be like, and this will help sponsor the temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarya is going to pass as well.
Darryl would go to it. You would like the recognition.
Oh, yeah.
I'd pass. Syldan would pass.
Daryl's gonna put it on his
Yep.
CV.
That's basically what Torr's going to be doing. It's really a great way to get back at certain elders in the Besson Kingdom who doubted him all this time.
Suck it.
Basically.
Okay. All right. Kalima.
Yeah, that's me.
So,
Yep.
long term, over this next time, what would you like to do?
Well, one of the things she would definitely want to try to do is find out for sure what happened to all the souls that were trapped to, make sure that they were released, and hopefully maybe that Rayleon's was not released.
Uh-huh.
And then, wherever her assignments take her is kind of the default.
Yep.
She's not very hard to deal with. Just
Do the duty.
do the duty.
Okay. So I'll say it wouldn't take you long, as there are certain cleric spells to allow you to speak to your deity, getting simple yes or no answers. And over the course of this time and studying the amulet with Darryl and trying to figure out if the souls were actually released and if Raleon's soul was just released out into the wild or destroyed or what happened to it, you do get responses from Kelimvor indicating that the souls did appear before his court for judgment, and Raleon's soul is gone. It was destroyed.
Okay.
Nice.
As the amulet itself seemed to be what kept it intact.
Okay. I would use the sending stones to relay this to our party.
Do you send any friendly messages along with that news?
Hi.
Honestly, it's more than I hope for.
So, mostly Syldan would just send back, so celebration party?
Maybe I'll braid my hair.
Wow.
She's come so far, you guys.
Such friendship!
So, if the main focus after that would be to serve the Nephenee and her people. Then over the years that follow, you would be sort of a liaison with Antinua between the Nephenee and Orinthal. As you had already started to build up the shrine to Kelimvor, anytime you would visit, Kalima would go to the shrine and see how it's grown more and more. And the people of the temple, the concept that you try to push is death should not be something to fear. It is a natural part of life, and that it shouldn't be a frightening thing. To appear before the courts of Kelimvor is just a part of the cycle of life.
Okay.
You continue to help out the low hills, and many times the Nephenee, being as secure as they are, wind up sending you on many different, more diplomatic missions. Usually not just you, but you slowly rise through the ranks and eventually lead your own diplomatic groups as time passes. And you serve out your days helping your people within the Nephenee, within Meliamne, by helping the other empires and those who are not in positions of power live a better life.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet!
Maybe even let them braid my hair once.
Just once.
Just
Gotta make
the
it count.
one time.
It'll be magical.
So magical.
Super magical.
That one sleepover where I got drunk and let you braid my hair.
Yay!
Whoop whoop.
Darryl, short term over the next few days, what are your plans?
I would be head buried in the academy library, trying to find what I can about intellect devourers and everything that we've faced thus far. And if there's gaps in the knowledge, I'd be trying to transcribe what we encountered for future scholars.
Okay. Sarya, would you be doing this as well?
Not the whole time. I would sort of check in and help with the research, but maybe not the actual, recording of everything. Darryl seems to have that under control.
Okay, so then, Darryl, make an investigation check with advantage.
I'll help pull volumes and check appendices and all that sort of stuff.
This is why advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing, because that first roll was not very good. So it'd be a total of 17.
Okay. It takes you quite a bit of time, first to even find any information on intellect devourers. There are tiny little notes here and there. A lot of it seems like almost rantings and ravings of the mad. People who have studied this strange realm and abominations in general. The strange realm, as you mentioned, you kind of fill in the gaps. You mentioned the far realm. There are bits and portions of information here and there, of visions of humanoid entities with squid-like heads that consume the brains of their victims, gaining all of their knowledge and memories in the process. And the term that's written down in one of the tomes you read is illithid.
Okay. Do I find out anything else about illithids?
The majority that you get from it is the fact that they consume the brains and knowledge, and they seem to have a different kind of, and they only use the term magic in quotes. They have abilities that whoever wrote about this did not understand, but it seemed mental in nature.
Okay.
But they produced effects that were similar to magic.
I would be able to put one and one together and realize that it's the same kind of thing that Sarya has.
Which it does imply her psionic abilities.
Okay.
Sorry, due to the fact that you would be helping him, I'm assuming, Darryl, you would share whatever you learn.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll talk it through.
Is there anything else you want to do over the next few days? Because that will take a lot of time.
No, I think that would be the main thing that I would be working on.
Okay. Darryl.
Yes. So what Darryl would be trying to do is he would try and become one of Thovin's apprentices and train with him just to learn more about magic in general. He would, at some point, wouldn't mind moving into that Mage's Tower, because that looks like a pretty swank
Pretty sweet.
place to live. And then, at some point in the future, he would want to see about starting his own, mage guild that has a focus on protecting the realm.
Okay. First, I would like 3 persuasion checks.
Ooh.
Oh, I didn't have to make any checks.
Me neither.
Guess because we weren't as ambitious.
Apparently. Are these just straight?
Persuasion.
This first one is 17.
Nice.
Okay.
Second one
Mhm.
is 14.
Okay.
Last one is 18.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh.
Then just make me 2
Okay.
Arcana checks.
First one is 17.
Okay.
Oh.
Second one is 18. All right.
Good rolls.
Nice.
All right. So, over the following years, you first, of course, study the amulet with Kalima, and try and study what you can of this far realm and of these abominations. When Thovin eventually makes it known that he intends to start an academy away from the other kingdoms, as its own separate area, you, with the blessings of Zinevere and Zoxiara's academy, go with him. Initially learning from him, and occasionally, I would say, even joining Sarya on a few of her excursions to deal with the Whispered
you
Ones.
do that.
Oh yeah, they're awful. It's no problem to come and kill a few.
Yeah. During your time, your grasp of magic and the weave and how it functions increases, and you learn much. Eventually, when you do return to Orinthal after going on many different quests of your own, studying and trying to understand magic and how you can use it, you return to the court and request to be named the Royal Wizard of the realm, which would entitle you to the Mage's Tower itself. After a display of what you can do and a display of your understanding of magic, you are eventually appointed as Darryl Mavis, Royal Wizard to the Vremer Empire.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet.
Nice.
Nice.
This is why the rolls, by the way.
way.
No one else had asked for political office.
I was just giving
Nope,
it.
because none of us wanted.
It's one of those things of look how far I've climbed.
Yeah. Starting from an urchin on the streets of the low hills, Darryl rose up to be the royal wizard and advisor to the king. So I do have one other question for you then. Do you have a name for this mage guild you would like to start?
The Staff Federation.
Okay. I made a note of that.
Thank you,
All right.
random guild name generator.
God. Daryl's mages.
Yep. Yeah.
Daryl's
See?
mage.
It's a play on Darryl Mavis. You see? You get it? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll say that
Daryl's mages.
over the time,
I love it.
working with the Garrickson,
Yep.
you begin to build, thanks to the academy also that Thovin started, you establish ties and connections to other wizards across the land and try to form a guild specifically devoted to dealing with arcane threats across the realm, to protect the realm itself. Considering the magnitude of the creatures that you had to deal with, using what Thovin has taught you and what you have learned along the way, build up this group to be an aid in the same way that the Nephenee are to the rest of the realm and protect those from threats beyond the material plane. And Darryl, you would live out your days as the royal wizard of the Vremer
Swanky.
Empire.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah.
How fancy.
Syldan, what would you want to do?
So short term, I would kind of at some point want to go talk to Captain Marsk and just see how she's doing, see if anything, like if she needs anything, kind of just talk about what happened and how it got a little bit heated, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And then also kind of inquire about where she learned to fight like that.
Roll persuasion for me.
Okay. Because I did pick up on a couple of the moves.
The monkishness of her fighting.
Yeah. Does a 15 cut it?
Ooh, nice.
Hey.
This is over the course of the next couple of days. Like I figure you go and visit her and talk to her, and you'll come back
Mhm.
because you get the impression she wouldn't tell you in just one sitting. But
Yeah.
after a couple days of meeting with her, she apologizes first for attacking you in the first place, and she does now realize how, in many ways, broken she is. She does explain that towards the end of her so-called training with Fulmar, they brought in someone, She doesn't know who. And she was trained to fight as a monk. And she was only just beginning to learn how to fight with a particular weapon. Considering your skill set, you eventually come to the realization that she was being taught to fight as a kensei.
Do you have any sort of description of this person that taught you?
She does give you a description. It does not match Beryl.
Okay.
But it is one of the other instructors of the monastery.
Dun, dun, dun!
Who went missing during the cataclysm and was presumed dead.
Okay. I'll thank her and just say if you ever need anything from me, I'm more than willing to help you. You've always been kind to me, and I want to make sure that you are okay.
She does thank you. What else would you like to be doing over the next couple days?
So, I know we have to stick around because Thovin is getting together some sending stones, stuff's going on. I would say short term, I guess we're going to stay in the city a little bit, because I know there's going to be a little bit of I don't want to say power vacuum, but since Captain Marks has been detained, to say the least, there's going to be
She's
need
just a captain.
Well, yeah, I know, but there's going to be other people that are filling in her role, right? So
essentially, her duties, you do discover, are given to War Master Jolana for the time being.
Okay, I will try to assist in any way I can with War Master, and trying to keep order or anything that needs to be done. And in spare time, I guess I'll keep out of Elsis, Atron, and Cha. Who is the most capable?
Elsis. She's older, for one thing.
In that case, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna send Elsis and Atron. I'm gonna send them back to the monastery to check in, make sure everything's okay. I'll send back 20 gold worth of supplies to help with the monastery. In the meantime, I'm going to just keep Cha with me, kind of train her a little bit in my spare time.
That's no problem. That's easy enough. A couple of times between all of you overall, there are some questions asked of you about Captain Marsk, a repetition of what actually happened and what you discovered. So they did ask you initially to stay in the city for a few days at least.
He said, don't leave town?
Pretty much.
While the investigation is pending?
Yep.
Syldan.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap.
I wasn't prepared for this,
You're
emotionally.
Up.
Okay,
Are you getting married?
So,
Maybe.
evidently, according to you guys,
Yes.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
this was not my intention. My intention was to be like, did Beryl train you? No, we good. By the way, I can train you.
No, we're totally shipping this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You have no control.
Okay, so I guess in sort of like immediacy, I would want to train my little ones is the big thing, because I know there's going to be a lot more of these conflicts going on, and I want them to be prepared. I would want to also continue my own training, just because I know Beryl, and I spend a lot of time with him, and I know he wouldn't want me to stop training myself. He would want me to continue going on, and eventually one day be better than him, be stronger than him, be able to make his memory proud. So I would want to keep doing that. I would like to continue, if she's willing, to train Captain Marsk, because I know she's probably got a little bit more skill, or as much skill as my other trainees. Just continue working on that. Maybe she becomes a master in her own right, able to help any new recruits we can get. We want to make the monastery stronger again. So, also, Vral, can I find him?
What do you intend to do?
I just kind of want to find him and say, hey, if you have any sort of plan to try and take out the Whispered Ones, I'm in.
Do you want to be my sidekick?
Yeah, and then as for everybody in the party, I'm going to send them weekly messages. And if I don't hear from them in like a couple months or so, I'm going to be knocking on their door.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dad.
You will be able to run fast enough that won't be a problem.
And then, if anything happens with Captain Marsk, let it happen. I will leave it at that.
Would you pursue anything?
That's basically where I left it with
If she
Thovin,
seemed
too.
interested, would you pursue anything?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, snap.
Oh, I'm not saying if anything's going to happen or not.
You're the worst.
All right. You're welcome. So, over some of the many, many, many years Syldan has left in his life, you spend a good deal of time at first training your little ones, trying to get them up to speed. You quickly realize that as much as you would want to continue working in Orinthal to make some money, adventuring makes more. And once your little ones get to a point where they can start to help train each other, I would say many times you go out with Sarya to help her deal with the Whispered Ones.
Join me.
Friends!
Quest!
You do return to Orinthal. You go to the Enclave Heights and the Low Hills districts, and I would like you to make an investigation check.
What?
Make 2.
Checks. Oh, wait, 2 investigation checks? Okay.
Yes.
It's a 16 on 1 and 10.
Okay. On one of your trips to the Enclave Heights, you do notice Vral hanging out where you saw him months before, seeming to wait for you as he picks his nails clean with one of his daggers. And when you speak to him, he tells you that he has every intention of making sure the Whispered Ones never get a hold in Orinthal again. And if you want to help with that, he is more than happy to assist. But beyond the city, he does not intend to travel. So Captain Marsh does spend quite a bit of time at the monastery over the next few years when she's not adventuring with Sarya. And you discover very quickly that while she is not as skilled as you are as a Kensei, she is much more along the path than your little ones. And she's able to help you train them as you help to train her. What comes of that relationship over time will remain to be seen.
Yeah! That's why I didn't push for the Thovin stuff. I want to see how this plays out long term.
But over the years that you help to train your little ones, your monastery grows, is rebuilt, and though you come across many different interesting magical weapons on your travels, you never find away from your person the sword that Darryl once held.
Aww.
Yay.
Aww.
And your monastery continues to grow and grow.
Did Am just pass out from excitement?
Happy squeals.
That is all, guys.
Woo! We're all still alive!
Yay!
I'm sorry, we're all currently alive! Gotta be precise about these things.
And that is where we will end this campaign. Thank you all for joining us on this unbelievable journey. It has been an absolute blast making every single episode of this. It has been amazing to see all of the responses, all of the encouragement that we've had from all of you. And after working on this for just about a year, since it was initially released, I am so proud of all that we have done and all that you have helped us do during this time. Thank you all so much for listening in on our Orinthal podcast. Make sure you check us out for season 2 of our actual play campaigns. We have so much planned for that, and we are really, really excited to show you what we have. In the meantime, though, it was an absolute blast. Thank you again, as we say goodbye for now to Sarya, Torr, Kalima, Darryl, and Syldan, and look towards the future and what other characters that might bring. Until next time, and I hope to see you in the world of Ostia.